Indiana Jones. Seems like old Phil Spencer is teasing that Indiana Jones is going to maybe become a franchise for Xbox Loan. How are you feeling about Machine Games getting back to work on some more Indiana Jones?
What a cruel question to ask right off the bat, knowing my feelings on it, the game and stuff. Ah, it's hard. It's hard for me as somebody who very much loves them Wolfenstein games, and knowing that it's amazing. It's great that obviously it was a very big success for them. It's probably their biggest. It must have done more numbers than Wolfenstein in its like opening year, I'd assume. It's going to end up
I,
selling. Do you
I
reckon?
don't know actually. Like
You don't?
that's really an interesting question because like in terms of Steam numbers, I don't think neither are great for Wolfenstein or Indiana Jones, but like I think it's a little bit lower in terms of peak concurrent players, which that doesn't necessarily that's not the end all be all. Um, it's really I wonder how it's going to do on PS5. I guess that could be the determining factor of overall sales, but Wolfenstein was available on PS5 as well. But I think that action adventure sort of game is more PlayStation audience centric than a first person shooter. I that's me just kind of theorizing though.
I think as well, the reason why I could see it shipping more, even though they've kind of botched that physical release, I know that's important for PlayStation players, more so than
Yeah.
Xbox.
Yeah.
There's something being tied down to a platform that you can't have for even if it's just a short period of time, and then when you finally get it, there's kind of that rabidness. Because like if they turned around and was like, yeah, Starfield's launching in August of this year, dude, that would fly
Yes.
off shelves because they would print a physical for it, and it would because even like Indiana Jones, Forza Horizon 5, they're topping the pre-order charts digitally on the PlayStation Store. It's selling more than anything else that they've got on them stores.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm thinking it probably will. It will edge it in the long run
Yeah.
than the Wolfenstein games, because when you make that like scarcity in the beginning and you build up hype and you have an entire platform that had to watch people enjoy that game, you kind of get them anticipating, oh, when's it coming to PlayStation? And obviously now that it's been announced, I could see that shifting a ton of copies on PlayStation. I think it's going to
Yeah.
shock people how many that actually does end up selling.
Yeah. It's and it's also interesting like that only lasts for so long. Have you
Mm-hmm.
noticed that where whenever Spider-Man wasn't on PC and then it ends up getting ported to PC a few years later, whatever, it was, I mean, people were buying that thing in droves. But then Spider-Man Miles Morales less so, and then Spider-Man 2 even less so. So it's like, how long is that allure going to last? Probably another year or so, and then it seems to cap off. That kind of seems to be the trajectory. Although, so I mean, we can go in so many different directions. We'll just stay here for now, but I think that if they do an Indiana Jones and the Great Circle 2, which I know that won't be the name, but whatever
The Great Triangle.
subheading, yeah, the Great Shape, whatever Great Shape they choose for the next game, I think it'll be PS6 day one, right? Like I think it'll be the same thing as Doom. It'll be the same thing as, you know, what's the other game that they're publishing this year? Outer Worlds 2. I would assume it'll just be PS6 day one at that point.
um, I don't know. If they continue on their trajectory as to what they're doing now, most likely, or if they choose to go down a little bit more of an aggressive route. Because, like I said, I'm still in like split on like what on earth like their commercial identity is, if that makes like sense as like a way of describing it, like how they position themselves when that console drops, whenever that is. if it's supposed PC whatever thing hybrid. Um, it's going to all depend on how aggressively they chase, or if they're just literally going to concede and just be the good guys, if that makes sense. Because if they just concede it, then yeah, that will easily go everywhere day one.
I think it's going to be a situation where if the console comes out the gate firing on all cylinders, selling like hotcakes, tens of millions of people buying it year one, then they're going back to exclusives for sure. And if not, then they're going to keep, if it's still struggling to sell in kind of a similar Xbox One Series X trajectory, then they'll keep doing what they're doing now, where they put everything multi-platform. That would be my prediction.
Yeah, because that's what I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's kind of like why I can kind of see why they want to test the water at the same time as the putting games on PlayStation, because it was the thing that I've spoke about before of like giving them the hit, as it were, giving them Forza Horizon 5 this late in its life cycle. Like, it's not going to shift any more copies on Xbox. It doesn't do them any damage, really, in the
No.
grand scheme of things. But what it does do is it plants that seed of PlayStation doesn't have this type of game. So when Forza Horizon 6 comes out, they can dangle that in front. And if it's been that enticing to, if there's, you have racing fans, people just play racing games. And if they play that and they absolutely love it, that could be the difference between them being like, okay, we'll buy an Xbox and jump
Yeah.
into thingy, or I will, because they that's the thing, they've removed the huge barrier of entry as well, because you're talking about years into the future. Technology is always getting better and stronger, more infrastructure for internet being more and more stronger and stable and stuff. You're talking about them constantly investing in cloud and this and that, and just being able to pick up a device and play it and stuff like that. So they could easily just do that. So you'd buy it off your phone for all we know in like 5 years' time and just be able to play that way
Hmm.
and just bypass, because that's what it feels like that they're really targeting. They just want to be a complete jack of all trades. That's why they're probably targeting that PC thing. So
Yeah. Yeah, it, I think we're decades away from cloud becoming what it will inevitably become. We know it at some point cloud is going to become a future. I don't know if the future is the right term, but a future without a doubt. It is not the present, it is not the near future, but it is going to be a future nonetheless. I guess I should I give a little bit of details backing up while we're just talking about an Indiana Jones sequel, as if these two dudes are just like speculating a sequel is going to come without any sort of evidence to speculate based off of. So this is coming once again from VGC. Link will be in the description. Uh, Microsoft's gaming boss has hinted at a future for the Indiana Jones franchise within Xbox Game Studios following the positively received release of The Great Circle. Machine Games' Indiana Jones and The Great Circle was released for Xbox and PC in December to positive reviews, amassing over 4 million players according to Microsoft, with Machine Games currently working on DLC for the game and a PlayStation 5 version releasing this very week. Microsoft's Phil Spencer was asked by Variety whether the company has larger plans for Indy. He said, I will say we're really happy with Indy and the players and the reception. Spencer responded, we do think there's life in that franchise, and I'm just going to leave it at that. We're launching on PlayStation here pretty soon. I think that'll be a cool moment. He continued, I was really inspired by Machine Games taking someone else's IP and doing something so unique. And I'm inspired about what the team can do next. Certain people were kind of pushing them on the first person versus third person. And I think once you play it, you realize you are indie, meaning you are indie in first person. But going forward, I also want to give the teams the ability to do our I want to give the teams ability to do our own games and our own franchises. We have a lot of room to tell new stories as well, and I want to make sure that's an option for us. So, yeah, dude, I mean, him saying the quote where he was pretty much like, we do think that there's life left in this franchise, and I'm just going to leave it at that. It's like, yeah, that pretty confidently, in my opinion, I would assume that means something else is coming in the Indiana Jones universe. But I do think also it's an interesting idea to throw out there of could another Xbox first party team tackle the Indiana Jones IP? You know what I mean? Like if it's just something that they throw from Xbox first party studio to Xbox first party studio, I don't know if Machine Games would be too happy with that. I think they would probably like to make the sequel, but I'm assuming they're busy working on the next Wolfenstein or the next new IP or whatever as well. I think Machine Games has multiple studios, but what do you think about that? Like the potential for the coalition making a a fucking Indiana Jones game or
Definitely not the coalition. Um, uh, that is interesting because it does get you've seen it in the past where it gets kind of muddied waters when you start passing around IP
yeah,
between things. It's different because I know people may draw the conclusion, oh, but Playground's making like a Fable game. Yeah, but Lionhead doesn't exist anymore, so there's no like going to be no internal conflict. It's what I would draw the comparison to is having, for instance, like Obsidian and Bethesda under the same roof, and the reason that Bethesda still isn't budging on them being able to make like a New Vegas 2 and stuff like that. So I would assume with the success, that does kind of give machine games a little bit of pull in being like, well, no, we want to make that. We don't want other people touching it. And because their evidence is we made it and it was a success, you're going to really run that risk and give it to, say, just an example here, Ninja Theory, you know? You're going to give it to Ninja Theory to make it? Like, no, you're not. And they could make it, but this is the thing
yeah,
of
they
like
could.
they they've proven that they have a successful formula. So when you bring in another studio, they'll put their own DNA on it, which also can kind of lead to muddy waters of if you have a fan base expecting something, it doesn't matter how good the game is, because Ninja Theory picked up Devil May Cry. It's a very good Devil May Cry game, but Devil May Cry players shunned it. So
Dude, Ninja Theory is actually a really good example because I'm thinking of Enslaved Odyssey to the West. There's a lot of Indiana Jones DNA in that. Hell, Compulsion with South of Midnight. I could see them parlaying that into a third person Indiana Jones game. Um, yeah, I mean, I think they do have some options. They got fucking 152,000 studios under their belt, so like someone could make it. Take Treyarch off of Call of Duty for a year, throw them at it. Like they could definitely do it. And have different studios spin off Indiana Jones games. But I guess let's talk about Machine Games. I know that you're probably hoping that Machine Games gets back to Wolfenstein pretty soon here.
I just want them. It's still an unfinished story. That's the thing. If it was not so much up in the air, like they've not dealt with the big threat, as it were. So if they wrap that up in like a third game, I'll be happy for them to put Wolfenstein aside for the foreseeable future and stuff. But how I envision it going in a more realistic sense is that they've obviously put Indie out, and then they turned around and said in that article that they're making DLC for it. The entire studio is not going to be working on DLC. They're obviously going to be most likely they will shift their big bulk towards Wolfenstein, keep a small team for Indie's DLC, and then as they get closer and closer to Wolfenstein's end, then maybe that DLC of Indie's team can start making the groundwork for the sequel, and then they can jump back to it. That's how I envision it
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the smartest development pipeline that we should hopefully see in the future, where it's like smaller, more nimble studios creating the groundwork and getting everything at least
Making sure they're
foundationally.
passionate as well. Keep the ones that are passionate about the IP. So if it's Machine Games and there's people on that team that absolutely adored making that indie game and like, yeah, I'm kind of in. I don't mind making another Wolfenstein game, but my passion was in indie. Like, keep them on indie. Like, that's how you get the best product, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I mean, keeping that smaller team and then shifting over whenever you really need the manpower after the
Hmm.
foundation has kind of been solidified. I think that's the smart move. And I mean, I think that game is so damn good. And I'm like trying to sit here and think about what I would want to see from a new Indiana Jones game. It's like fucking A, I guess slightly better shooting, um, making that a little bit more of an option. But I understand why they made it bad because they don't want you to shoot. Like that's not Indiana Jones. Um, and so I understand the decision they made there. But yeah, you should probably polish up the shooting a little bit for sure. Still make it to where it's not the first, second, or third option in battle, but giving it as at least a viable, competent option. And I just think about some of those moments, like the, not to spoil anything, but like the plane section, you know what I mean? In Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I would love to see more moments like that. Just like little on rails set piece moments that feel like this big blockbuster. And there's a lot of them already in Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, but you can never, in my opinion, you can never go wrong with just cool ass bombastic, uh,
I, f-
moments like that to really stand out.
I think we'll get a much clearer picture as to where they want to take it when that DLC comes out. I think that'll lay the philosophy of where they're going to take it, because that's usually what kind of happens is that you make a base game, and when you release like a big DLC after it, it's usually you're building off of the things that players gave you feedback on. Oh, we really like this, we didn't really like that. We liked that, we didn't like that. And then they can kind of hone in on that. So I think hopefully they're open to listening to feedback, which I'm sure they are. And that DLC will show a little sneak glimpse as to what the sequel, assuming they make it, which is it's fairly heavily implied that they're interested in doing it. What that would entail.
Yeah. Yeah. I, another thing I want to kind of pick your brain on is, so let's say we are in this world of a new Indiana Jones game coming out within the next 4 or 5 years. That's going to be next console life cycle for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If that is on PlayStation day one, do you think there's any do you think there's anybody at Machine Games right now going, okay, if we're putting this on PS6 day one, can we figure out how to get a third person mode in there for those maniacs who love their damn Uncharted's and Last of Us and Gods of War and Horizons and Spider-Mans and
The only way that will happen is if they update the existing game. Is
hmm,
is is my guess. Otherwise, it's just design choice. If they don't add that as like a accessibility feature kind of thing, stuff like that, because if there's any platform holder and team that like prioritize it is Xbox. They constantly trumpet their accessibility options and this, that, and that, and always giving players as many options as possible. So if they get to the end of that life cycle of the Great Circle game and they haven't added it as an option whatsoever, I'd highly doubt that they'll be doing that in a sequel. I
'cause I
think it
remember that
got
I remember that image leaked of like Indy walking around in third person and I was like, the fuck is that? I don't know if that was some sort of mod. I don't know, but I think it was like before the game released. It was I don't really remember all the specifics, but I was like, oh, that's very, very, very interesting. But I do know, I mean, if they can figure out a way to get that into third person, because I was looking at the once again, these are not the end all be all metrics, but I was looking at the Steam data for the Great Circle and it peaked around like 12,000 players like we talked about earlier. And then I went and looked at Tomb Raider and those games peaked at like 40, 50, 60,000 players. And I'm like, God, dog, is it really that big of a divide of people just wanting third person that much more than first person? Because it's not, I mean, people will be like, well, Indiana Jones, the name doesn't carry any weight. It's like Tomb Raider doesn't fucking carry any weight either. Like in terms of Tomb Raider was dead for a long ass time before it came back with the reboot, just like Indiana Jones has been dead for a long ass time before it came back with the Great Circle in terms of being a high quality product.
yeah. It's also important to keep in mind. Obviously, Game Pass plays a massive part in how that skews the concurrent players and stuff on Steam, especially because there are a decent amount of PC Game Pass subscribers out there, especially if you're like me, for instance, the ultimate that gets you both. That gives me the console side of things and the PC side of things. So there's plenty of them, and yeah, I would say there's probably more anticipation for Tomb Raider on PC when that dropped as well, because it had fairly strong roots on PC, didn't it? As well.
I mean, the series went away for a long ass time. Like whenever it was rebooted, there hadn't been a really really good Tomb Raider game in years and years and years.
No, but I'm talking about the originals. Did they not release on PC, or were they solely
Mm,
console exclusive? Because I thought they were on PC as well.
I mean, they definitely, I would assume, yeah, they definitely were on PC. I don't know if they launched like the same day as console. That was a big thing back then where PC games they often
Mm.
didn't launch until years later on, after the console release. But
But I'd say, I mean, for me personally, I think there's a lot more pull and interest in a Tomb Raider game than there is an Indiana Jones game. So that also plays a part in it.
yeah, I don't know. It's, I'm not sure. I really, because I feel that in terms of popularity of an overall franchise, Indiana Jones is definitely, I would assume, more popular than Tomb
But
Raider.
that's film. You think of all
Right.
the other Indiana Jones games that came out, they're not. None of them were successes other than Lego Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
So that's why I'm trying to like put the hat on. Like, yeah, absolutely. Like film franchise, it's a juggernaut. Absolutely has incredible historical pedigree. But like gaming wise, it never. This is the first time that, if I'm being honest, I think it's the first time they ever had a smash hit success video game.
totally.
Even compared to the Lego games, I think the Lego games kind of underperformed in comparison to the other Lego titles. I don't think it was as coveted as well. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, no, with you linking to the third person camera, I think it would do them the world of good if they did do that. It was a definitely an interesting choice, but it's also just what the studio is capable of. Because if you're trying to
exactly.
force them to do that, like they don't make third person games. Because that's what I tried to get across when it was first announced. Is that you was like, oh, that's a bit weird. It's like I don't think Machine Games has ever made a third person game. They've always made first person shooters. So
Hmm.
for them to try and take on a project of that magnitude and also get to grips with making a completely different camera perspective, you would have the reverse effect of, what do you call it, of Cyberpunk
Hmm.
with The Witcher. With them going from third to first, it would be going first to third, and you saw the teething issues that they had. A lot of people think it's a very simple, and it really really isn't. It requires a completely different skill set. So I have a lot of respect for Capcom of making sure that their developers are flexible in making it for both perspectives. It's very good.
Well, and you remember with Cyberpunk, they were targeting third person at first, but then they couldn't get it, they couldn't figure it out, so then they had to pivot to first. And it's, yeah, that's the thing about Indiana Jones is it's such a complicated game with the level of interactivity, the level of there's so much in that world that you can pick up, objects that you can grab and use as weapons, and it's like it really is the perfect first person experience. So it's hard for me to see that being successful in third person, but if they could ever figure out a way to do it, I mean, you're talking about much, much, much bigger audience. Um, because if you have both options available, it's like you got everybody. And even if you just make it third person, if you had to, I think that would bum a lot of people out. Um, but you would just have a larger audience who would be willing to pick it up, I think. Um, but I don't know. I kind of just want to keep it in first person, exactly how it was with the Great Circle. I fucking loved that.
I think it would be very difficult to also push the immersive sim elements in third person,
Exactly.
which is what the game is fairly well known for. With like, because that was the big comparison of like drawing it with Uncharted and stuff, and that Tomb Raider thing is that they don't have them levels of interactability that indie did, and I don't think I I won't say it's impossible, but I think it would be extremely difficult to pull them immersive sim off elements in a third person camera. But yeah,
Yeah, I agree, man. And I mean, we'll see. Right now we're speculating based off of a very small quote. This might not ever even come to
it
fruition, but
feels like I didn't say anything.
I hope it does though. I hope what Phil is alluding to is that we get more from this franchise because I do think that's a great starting point, and I'd love to see more from Indiana Jones in the video game space, specifically from Machine Games. But let us know in the comments down below what you think about a future Indiana Jones game. Are you on board for this title as much as I am, or would you rather, go a new IP? Would you rather go back to Wolfenstein? I'm always open for a new IP if that's the direction they take. Like if you had to lay it all out in front of me, I'm always going to go new IP over everything. But um, I can't say I'd be disappointed in really any direction they take. I'd be so on board for a new Wolfenstein, new Indiana Jones, or new IP. So let us know in the comments below how you feel on all of this, and we will see you guys very, very soon. Goodbye.
See you later.